Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. please? Right, we're all good. Good evening, members, and to those that are listening online. You're welcome to our full council meeting tonight. I have apologies from Alderman Ian Burns and Councillor Robbie Alexander. Councillor Nelson, have you an apology? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Could I apologise on behalf of Councillor Donnelly? Thank you.
Okay. No other lights on, members, so we'll proceed to agenda item 2. And if I could have a proposer and a seconder for the minutes of the April full council meeting, please. Councillor Herr, thank you, and seconded by Councillor McClelland. Members, are we all agreed to adopt those decisions? Any items arising? I don't see any lights on. Thank you. Members, declaration of interest. I think we'll just keep those unless anyone wants to progress anything now, just as the meeting goes ahead. All good? Yeah. Okay. Agenda item 4.1. The minutes of the planning committee. Alderman Barr, are you content to propose? Thank you. And Vice Chair Kennedy, you happy to second? Thank you. Members, any issues arising from the minutes? No lights on. Okay. Thank you. Minutes of Environmental Services Committee. Councillor Hockian, you content to propose? Thank you. Alderman Berry was the Vice Chair, but he had an apology that night. Could I have another member to second those minutes from Environmental Services? Thank you, Councillor McConville-Walker. Members, have we any issues arising from the minutes? Yes, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's not an issue arising from the minutes, but I would just like to take this point to place on record my thanks to Jonathan and his team and the work they've done in conjunction with DFA on Killay Road footpath going from Killay Village to Navan Fort. I think many people that use that area will agree that the work's been excellent, well, long overdue. And I hope that we can move forward and see a few more footpaths around the area cleaned. And hopefully a report come back to committee on how we can do that. Thank you very much, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Armstrong, you're a fortunate man that was actually positive feedback that I allowed you that in. That's great. Thank you. I don't see any other lights on. So members, 4.3, minutes of the Governance Committee. Councillor Mackle, content to propose? Thank you. And Councillor Kyle Moutry, happy to second. Thank you. Members, any items arising? No lights on. Thank you. 4.4, minutes of Community and Wellbeing Committee. Councillor Ian Wilson, happy to propose? Thank you. Vice Chair Councillor O'Kane, happy to second? Thank you. All agreed, members? No issues? Great. Okay. 4. Sorry, I thought I heard someone trying to get me attention there. Apologies. 4.5, minutes of economic development. Right, Councillor Kevin Savage, you had an apology. Could I have a proposer from someone on the committee? Thank you, Councillor Mackle. And Councillor Alexander isn't here tonight, so could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McElrath. Again, members, any issues to raise from the minutes? No? Great. Right, agenda item 5 then, we're on to the Chief Executive's report, and I'm going to hand over to Kate McCusker, to present this report.
Good evening, members. This is an item 4 decision and the report is taken as read. This matter relates to an issue which arose at Governance Committee earlier this month. On the 3rd of May, DFC wrote out to all local councils and asked us to provide further comments on legislation for remote meetings. However, the deadline they set of the 17th of May to submit our comments did not allow for us to follow governance procedures. Members agreed at Governance Committee that I should issue the response to DFC by their deadline and seek retrospective approval from members of full council for the response which I submitted. Members, I'm therefore seeking retrospective approval this evening for the response letter which I submitted to the department on the 16th of May. Thank you, members.
Thank you for that, Kate. I have 2 lights on. Councillor Mackle.
Just happy to propose, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
You. And Councillor Hockian.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Happy to second, and thanks, Kate, for your work on this.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights on, so good. Glad you'll be relieved on that, Kate. Thank you for that. Agenda item 4.2, members' minutes of environmental services. Councillor Hockian, have we done? We've done that. I'm onto the wrong page. See, we're going so fast, I can't even keep ahead of myself, folks, tonight. I'm actually impressed. Right, we're actually skipping ahead now to agenda item 6, schedule of correspondence. Now, there is a number 6.1 and 6.2 members. It's asking for response and comments. If you want to pass those through to member services, everyone content to do that? Okay, no lights on. 6.3 then, I'm going to, is that for yourself, Roger? Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and good evening, members. You'll see from the correspondence that there is an appointments process to the Drainage Council for Northern Ireland. This falls outside of our normal cycle of appointments from our annual meeting after the election. There is a competition as part of the process, but we are being asked to supply the names of 2 members. What we did back in 2019 was a matter that came through the governance committee. So if there are any members who are interested, if you maybe want to send your names forward to me, and then if there are more than 2 names come forward, I can bring a report through to the governance committee in due course. So any names, Lord Mayor, to me of anyone who's interested in going through the process. I don't think there's any guarantee that members will automatically be appointed. There still are interviews and application forms, and that's all within the pack. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Okay, members, I don't see any lights on, so we're content with that, okay? Right. Member 6.4, 6.5 and 6.6 are items for noting. Are we content to note and move on? Okay. Again, no lights on, so I'll continue on. Agenda item 7, schedule of documents. If we could take 7.1, 2, 3 and 4 on block. If I could have a proposer and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Mackle, and thank you, Councillor Lavery. All right. Agenda item 8 then, members, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Brona Hockey, who's going to bring us forward her notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm glad I was in time for this meeting because you're flying through it. I'd just like to move this motion as tabled here on the agenda tonight. And members, I understand it's quite a lengthy motion, but I don't think that the importance of it could be understated. So I'll speak first on the first section of the motion. So the issue of the lack of respite provision for adults with learning difficulties, complex needs and challenging behaviour is an issue facing many families in our council area. These services are so important, and the fact that respite provision is not a luxury for unpaid carers but a necessity, it's a complete lifeline. Respite provision for adults with complex needs and challenging behaviour is the help that they need. To have this allows them to carry out the day-to-day small activities that we all just take for granted, like going for a walk, going to the shops, having a coffee with friends, or just basically relaxing and recharging from their day-to-day caring responsibilities. Last year, before Christmas, we heard how the 8-bed facility in Woodlawn that provides short breaks of around 1 week for those with learning disabilities, complex needs and challenging behaviours was unable to provide this service due to these services needing to be redirected towards intensive individual support. This was a big blow to those families who relied on that service. To be told at short notice that your respite had been cancelled was gut-wrenching. It's not a criticism of Woodlawn House or their staff. In fact, I cannot praise them enough for their work and their dedication to service users. This is the second time an incident like this has arisen within the Southern Trust, impacting the service users of Woodlawn House. It clearly shows the inadequate provision of respite services for adults with complex needs, challenging behaviour within the Southern Trust area, and the need for more investment into these services. The 8-bed facility we have in Woodlawn House is not enough. As more and more children with learning difficulties, complex needs and challenging behaviour leave children's services at the age of 18 and enter adult services, how can an 8-bed facility cope with this demand? A demand that will increase year on year. How can all those families avail of a regular service and respite and the lifeline that they need? Moving on to part 2 of the motion, I think everyone in this chamber will have had a constituent contact them about inadequate provision of domiciliary care within the Southern Trust. One that springs to mind for me is a constituent in their 80s who cares for his 2 children in their 40s, both with a range of complex needs. And since November, this family have had their care package reduced to 1 hour per day due to sickness and the trust being unable to fulfill a care package. I've seen firsthand the stress that this puts on families, both emotionally and physically. A person in their 80s should not have to do this alone and suffer because of the lack of domiciliary care provision. Like respite care, it's a lifeline too. Again, the staff that work in this sector are nothing short of amazing, but due to sickness, absences and reduced capacity, care packages are going unfulfilled. Families and unpaid carers are picking up the slack and being put under immense pressure where the trust just cannot get the resources. In a letter from the trust to me, they have acknowledged that unfortunately domiciliary care provision is a challenge both locally and regionally. The trust continues to seek alternative providers for unfulfilled care packages, but it's just becoming increasingly difficult. Both respite provision for adults and domiciliary care provision have been underinvested for far too long, and we need to see the Minister for Health prioritise these services to ensure that families can avail of more regular respite, full care packages fulfilled, and a service that can cope with the demand. We need to see additional investment from the Department of Health and more forward planning so that regular provision is made available. We need to see these services protected and not at risk of cancellation. If the current situation continues, the unpaid carers in our council area will always be among the first to pay the price. This cannot happen. They can no longer be the last to receive the help that they need. It must be concerning for unpaid care workers and families constantly worrying that if something was to happen, an unforeseen sickness, a bereavement, what would happen to their loved one, what would they do and who would care for them? For all those unpaid carers in our community who rely heavily on these services and who need a voice to speak for them, we are in awe of you and your tireless work. And I ask all of our councillors here tonight in this chamber to support this important motion. Garma
Thank you, Councillor Hockey, and Councillor Sarah Duffy to second the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second Councillor Haughey's motion here tonight. Firstly, I would like to commend those who work within this sector, as the service they provide is invaluable. We do, however, have a major issue, as Councillor Haughey has stated, which is only going to get worse as those staff are stretched due to capacity levels and a lack of resources. Most families across the north of Ireland have seen firsthand the job these within the sector perform as they care for their loved ones through care packages. Tory underfunding, along with austerity, has placed a major financial pressure on our health sector. The most vulnerable within our society are continuing to pay the price for this, and it is no different for our unpaid carers. We urgently need an action plan to tackle these issues from the Department of Health, and that must also include a continued cross-party united front in response to this chronic underfunding in the people of the North. Unpaid carers play a vital role and they can no longer be treated as an afterthought in our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Madam Lord Mayor, and I actually welcome this motion here this evening. I think many across the chamber over the years have been representations made to us from carers, from parents who have children and teenagers and older indeed, who are in need of the care and attention. And sadly, over the years, there has been an underfunding. And I have a family relative whose daughter, my cousin, whose daughter has that severe learning difficulty, and frankly, the lack of respite and care provision for her is pathetic, and it actually puts a lot of stress and strain on the parents and indeed the young person involved because of things that go on and things that happen. And there's also another lady who I know in my own DEA who has been fighting constantly, not just for the respite care, but even for transportation to take her daughter, who is now an adult, to daycare centres, and she's literally had to fight tooth and nail on a regular basis for such a provision. And I think there's been much said in this motion. This motion rises above the politics of it all. It should be a united message throughout the chamber, and I believe it will, that we should be raising our concerns on behalf of the constituents the carers, the young people that are involved in this, to ensure that they get the best provision that is necessary. Obviously, it's outside our means. We don't have the finance, we don't have the powers in it, but we have had not just family relatives, but others within our community who have suffered as a result of crying out for something that should be that human provision for them. It has a serious physical pressure on them, mental pressure on them, psychological pressure on them. And I believe this motion is a positive one tonight, and that a message should be sent clearly to the trust, to the department, and further afield that enough is enough, and that provision should be improved for the carers, for the parents, and for the young people involved. It is a human right in my view, and they should not be classed as second-class citizens. And in fact, that's how many of them feel. And I warmly support this motion here tonight, and fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barry. There's quite a number of councillors as indicated, so I'm just going to take them as in order. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you to the proposers of this motion. Domiciliary care work is a critical and seriously undervalued part of Northern Ireland's health and social care system. For too long, domiciliary care has been the poor relation when it comes to resourcing. As we've seen earlier this year, Southern Health Trust revealed that 700 domiciliary care packages were currently outstanding, and we particularly see the effect of this in our rural communities where staff working in this sector are not paid the appropriate mileage for travel, which is often one of the main factors in preventing care packages being offered in rural areas. And of course, when there are challenges in providing packages, the impacts are often immediately felt in hospital settings as discharges are delayed. One of the clear advantages of domiciliary care packages is they can lessen the pressures on our hospitals and reduce waiting times, and undoubtedly people would much rather be cared for at home for the sake of their own mental health and well-being. And as has been mentioned, I want to pay tribute to the hundreds of thousands of unpaid carers and how invaluable respite care is for them and for the people they look after on a daily basis. More than 220,000 people across Northern Ireland provide some form of unpaid care, with around 2,600 of these carers being under 18. And those numbers will rise in the coming years as the population continues to age. Young carers are sometimes often forgot about, and we cannot underestimate the impact that this has on their lives as they grow up trying to navigate life as a young person alongside this pressure. A recent report put the economic value of unpaid carers in Northern Ireland at approximately 5 to 8 billion, which equates to around 85% of our recent health budget. And without them, our health system would be crumbling even more than it is. There's an urgent need for additional investment, forward planning and ring fencing of these services, as has been stated. And the issue is not whether we can afford to better finance domiciliary care, but whether we can afford not to. And therefore, our party fully supports this motion and the calls within it. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I welcome the opportunity to speak on these issues tonight, and thank both Councillors Haughey and Duffy for bringing the issue before the Council. I know the impact that both issues is having on carers in our community, and if I address the dire shortage in domiciliary care in the first instance, the issue has blighted the health service here for decades. The service is slowly being run down. It used to be referred to as home help, and they did lots of things from housework, personal care, changing a bed, lighting a fire, preparing a meal. Now it's 15 minutes in and out, a meal warmed in a microwave, and away they go. This is not the fault of the domiciliary care worker. They're the ones who are actually raising the concerns every bit as much as families. The wait for people to exit hospitals, they tell us that the care package is key to that. And yet the length of time to put a care package in place is holding up discharges. We need more packages and we need them quicker. If we refer to the issue in relation to short break provision, for families of children with profound disabilities, the issue of short breaks is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Some of the young people we're talking about have profound needs and their families care for them 24/7. They love and care for them and they do everything for them. Their care and compassion means these young people get to stay in their own homes with their families where they want to be. The services we refer to are for those with profound and complex needs. And those of us who are parents in the room tonight, we all love our children dearly. But just now and again, you need a wee break. Maybe it's a night away as a couple or a few hours till a concert or cinema or a football match. And we can all rely on family, friends, the grannies, grandas or aunts or uncles to do a bit of babysitting or let the children go on a sleepover. But for those parents and carers of children with complex needs, it's just not that simple. You can't just leave a child with granny or with a friend. And because of the nature of some of the disabilities, the caring and personal care needs these parents need, these young people need that short break more than anyone else. In recent years, the short break provision has been treated like the Cinderella service in the trust. Services have been reduced, if not decimated. Whilst families in this area have been able to avail of, yes, Woodland in Dungannon, but also Carrick-Orr in Uri and Oaklands in Armagh City. I've visited these facilities and the care the young people get in them is second to none. The carers treat the children as if they are their own, but the system is broken. It's overstretched and it's under-resourced. Families look forward to those breaks for months in advance and then get a call last minute to say it's cancelled. In many cases, it's because the trust has placed a child into the facility and due to the nature of that other child's disability and that the building needs closed and no one else can be in the building at that particular time. This is just unacceptable and it needs addressed. And we've had families raising this issue for years and years and it's not being addressed. We've had Bamford and we've had Bengoa. We've had policy after policy, report after report. We need action and we need it now. We need investment and we need it now. Thank you.
You, Councillor O'Hanlon. Councillor O'Kane.
Thanks very much, Robert. This one here is very close to my heart. And I have to thank my party colleagues for bringing this up as motion. I have a 22-year-old son who has complex needs and learning difficulties. So it is tough on families. It's tough on him, but it is very tough on families. And we're still fighting for that child every day of the week. We've been fighting since he was 7 years of age, since he was diagnosed. He's now 22. We've had to go to England. We've had to go to different places in the north here. So people are crying out for help. So they are. Life is just a fight. I speak every day on fighting for his rights and fighting to get just to make his life that wee bit easier. Not just for him, but for our own family too. I have, not to go into my own private life too much, but we have 3 other children as well, and they do find it tough. It's hard on the whole family. So it is. So, you know, and as Alderman Barry says, this isn't what religion you are, what colour you are, anything. This has nothing to do with it. So it hasn't. So people are crying out for breaks. We didn't get a break. We didn't get any respite. So we didn't. I have seen families in the same situation as us that the family broke up. We stayed together. We stuck it out. So we did, but they do need more help, and they do need breaks and respite. Just as Councillor O'Hanlon says, just for that, just to get that wee break. Thank you.
Councillor O'Kane, what do you call your son?
Jack O'Kane.
Jack.
Yeah.
Jack's very blessed to have such a kind, loving family.
Well,
Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Sorry, you all know I had a Jake and you have a Jack. And so I've been knocked off a wee bit there because I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate what everybody's saying. I know what it's like. I never got hardly an hour of I didn't even like calling it respite, to be honest. It was to get out to get the groceries. We got very, very little. I back in the day, and that's over 10 years ago now, maybe nearly 30, it's nearly 13. My son should be 13. So that's how long this is going on. I've also been caught in just recently, in the whole care package thing, and it's so frustrating. We were dealing with 2 different health trusts. So I've seen the sharp end of it in a number of times in my life and my family's life, and it's hugely frustrating. And I have to be honest, I'm finding it very, very frustrating this evening, and somewhat ironic actually, that on the very night that we're just, and these are important issues, and they're emotional and they're personal, and it's people's lives and how we get on and how we make the most of what we have in life. These issues like of keeping people at home in the last hours and days of their lives, is unless you've been in it, you maybe feel slightly different about it. But this evening, my party has voted against a budget in the very health service that we're talking about that would be catastrophic and show catastrophic cuts on all the issues that have been listed in this motion. So, you know, having been on the sharp end of it and maybe on the side of it now and speaking to my colleagues, we will continue to put health first. Absolutely continue to put health first. But we'll also continue to call for other parties to stop paying lip service and start honouring their commitments. It's clear that we have to transform things. And I understand, I know what it's like to be at home with a child with a tube and you can't get someone to help you put a tube in. You know, what do? You can't leave, you're quite right, it's been said, you can't leave them with Nanny. You can't leave them with the wee girl down there. You can't, you know, and that has persisted. Say my son should be 13. I should not still be saying this in this chamber, you know, but if all the wishes that are listed here, all of some are very personal to me too, are going to be put forward, it requires money. Money as promised by your party in your manifesto commitments promising 1 billion extra. So, you know, I think it's right that as the party that still holds the health ministry, we must stand up for all the patients, it's doctors, nurses, clinical and non-clinical staff. You know, we've stated it, we've watched it unfold today, and if the budget does not change, if the unworkable allocation for health is not improved, we cannot and we did not support cuts that will cause harm. If any of you have taken time to read the health budget assessment, which was published this morning, I have a copy here, I have a few copies if you wanted, if you haven't read it, you'll see the actual impacts on the ground of the 2024-25 budget. They're listed in this. You know, they've been described as beyond catastrophic and high impact cuts that will cause harm. The very issues you list in this motion, you know, all of which we're all well versed on, that many like me have been directly impacted. How, as proposers of this motion, do you propose that it's going to be paid for? Because in page 6 in particular, in this that was published this morning, there's a reduction of at least 400 acute hospital beds. There's a reduction of at least 1,200 members of staff, a reduction in the region of 1.1 million hours of home and domiciliary care, and a reduction of 500 home care beds. You know, so you're correct on one thing also. You know, I've said it, been an unpaid carer, and absolutely, they will indeed be amongst the first to pay the price of this. But there is a window, I think, to change things. Things that can be done to deal with it. But the executive parties must commit to health being a priority in deeds and not just words. So therefore, in supporting the broad sentiment of the motion, and I genuinely do, we are proposing the following amendment. That you can add it on to that big long list of sentences there. So that the Minister for Finance ensure that the Minister for Health is provided with an increased budget than that proposed at present to ensure delivery of all the services outlined in the above notice of motion. Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. See, and I started to cry. Right.
Councillor Epp.
I just want to second the proposal from Councillor Flaherty. And I just want to point out as well that it is ironic that we're all sitting here tonight debating a motion that not anyone in this room can disagree with. But at the same time, there's parties sitting in this room who did not commit to what they said they were going to in their manifestos. And that's poor, very poor.
So Councillor Hockey, if I could ask you, are you prepared to accept the change or the amendment? Sorry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. No, as Councillor Barry remarked, this motion rises above the politics of the chamber and we won't be accepting the politicisation of this motion. Thank you.
Members, I'm very conscious Alderman Wilson still has to speak and then I'll have to come back and do a vote on the amendment, but I think it's only fair that Alderman Wilson speaks first.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I suppose, listening to all the commentary and I suppose in particular Councillor O'Kane's as well, it does bring home just the actual seriousness of this and how it does impact on families. And I don't think any of us were prepared for what we heard from Councillor O'Kane. So it does bring the issue right into this chamber. I don't think we've heard that to that extent just before in terms of this particular issue, and then also with Councillor Flaherty bringing her story as well. So it is something that is, that's 2 examples only in this chamber out of 41. There's many more, as we know, out across the community. But I think in terms of this motion, and it's clear that it calls on the Minister to develop a plan, and in both aspects, both in the respite provision and also in the domiciliary care. It's something in my representation that I've had contact with people on. It's a complicated issue, but it is an issue of strategy. I think we can't get away from that, where we do have this situation where beds need to be freed up, space needs to be freed. We are living longer. People are coming forward with more complex needs, as the motion suggests, and as many reports have also outlined. So with that comes a new method or a new way for the health service to try to deal with this. And I think this motion is an honest attempt. Just as a council, as has been said, we don't have the resources physically to deal with this. So this is a sounding board, as is the case on many motions. We have had many motions brought to this chamber where a particular party has held the ministry, and we've risen above the politics of it, and we've seen the benefit of a collective voice putting forward a view, and we've had a response back from the minister. So I think this, to be consistent, this is another one of those instances, and we've heard very sincere contributions on it. I hope mine is taken also as a sincere contribution as well, and I have no issue with the motion as it stands. I think in terms of our other political colleagues in our respective parties who are sitting in Stormont, those arguments are made and will continue to be made in the due course, and especially in the run up to what's coming on the 4th of July, things will become much more focused, and we'll see many more arguments being made along these lines, and they'll be based at a higher level in this council. And that's where I feel the debate needs to be. This is simply pointing in that direction, and I welcome the fact that it does cast a light on this issue. I think it deserves sincere consideration. It's had that tonight. I'm quite happy with it, and my party is as well.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. Alderman Baxter.
It's just for the apologies. It's just for the words of the amendment. Can you send them down? I'll read them out even.
That was the next I was going to come back and ask Councillor Flaherty before we vote. Could she just clarify exactly what the amendment says, please, that we're going to be voting on?
You'd email that up to you? I'll email it up to you, Lord Mayor, that's no problem, but just to be clear, that the Minister for Finance ensures that that the Minister for Finance ensure that the Minister for Health is provided with an increased budget than proposed at present to ensure delivery of all the services outlined in the above notice of motion. I'll email it up to the front desk.
Yeah, that's fine. Members, do you want to see an email of that before we go to vote? Are you content to vote based on what Councillor Flaherty has just read out? I'm in your hands. Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, it's just a question around it. It's not very clear just to what level are they asking for more money? You know, surely it has to go through the executive. I don't really understand the figures around it. It's very open-ended. What is the level of funding that they want extra?
Councillor Flaherty, do you want to come back in there?
It's currently sitting at minus 183 million.
Yeah. Well, start with that figure. Well, is the word adequate better than increased? Would that satisfy anybody? Because as I say, we are sitting, and I did point out, we're at least 183 million of a deficit to even stand still in the Department of Health. So that might be a good place to start. Oh, I've just cut it. I've literally just cut it. There, go. Oh, it's doubled up there. What has happened? Put the glass.
Councillor Flaherty, rather than put you under immense pressure here, if members, will we take a 5-minute recess, and then that'll allow, because I'm very conscious of us going to a vote and we're not very clear what we're voting on. So if we just literally take a 5-minute recess, allow Councillor Flaherty gather herself and then come back and be more clear. Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you. Members, if we could listen now carefully to this, please, because we're going to a vote. Maybe.
Not interested in it. Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you very much actually for that short recess. It was very much appreciated. Give me a wee bit of time there just to tidy up the wording for you. Therefore, you've received it there in an email. The Minister for Finance must ensure that the Minister for Health receives an increased budget beyond the current proposal to guarantee the delivery of all services outlined in the notice of motion.
Alderman Baxter, do you want to come in, or I need to go back to the proposer of the motion to ask or do you need to come in now? Okay, thank you. Councillor Hockey, can I call you in if you will accept, or I'll
Huh? Thank you, Lord Mayor. No, I'm not happy to accept the amendment. Can't get words out. Apologies.
Thank you, Councillor Hockey. Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, look, Lord Mayor, like we had a discussion about it there, and while we sympathise, and we all want more in the budget for health in particular, because we were united across the chamber tonight in the original motion, and I think that's probably the message that should have went out. Like, needs are infinite, and needs within the health service are infinite, but resources are finite, and we can't change that. The resources there, and it's how the budgets are managed. So on that basis, we have no figures here before us. We're just been told that we want to put a letter at the end of it to say, given adequate money, we don't know how much it is. It's probably not, well, it's not in council's remit to look at a budget or to unpick a budget. We have no power over it. So for that reason, while we like the sentiment of what we want to do, because we all support health and that should be the priority, but we've no power here. So on that basis, we won't be supporting the amendment. But we will support the original motion, and I think everybody here was supporting the original motions anyhow, and I think that's the message that should be going out of this chamber this evening.
Yes, thank you, Alderman Baxter. Members, we're going to use the voting system for the first time, and we're going to be voting on Councillor Flaherty's proposed amendment. Pardon? Sorry. Yes, of course, a recorded vote, no problem. Members, I'm going to hand over to our Chief Executive, who's going to talk you through the voting system.
Thank you very much, Madam Lord Mayor. Members, this is the first time we've used the voting system since COVID, because we've obviously been running hybrid and physical meetings. So please don't touch anything on the system until Wendy opens the vote, and the Lord Mayor will declare whenever the vote is open. So please don't touch any of the buttons. Whenever the vote is opened, you will see in front of your card there are a series of buttons. Number 1 will flash. You need to press that button whenever it flashes, because that registers you to vote. It's like basically turning the system on, but you need to press that. Once you press that, then the other 4 lights will flash, and you choose plus if you are supporting the motion, minus if you are against the motion, X if you're abstaining, and the final button is if you do not wish to participate in the vote, which is different to abstaining. So when the vote is opened, you need to register, and then it is plus is for the motion, minus against, X abstain, and then the 4th one is not participating in the vote.
Thank you, Chief. Oh, sorry, Chief Executive. 1 second.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, and just to remind members that you are voting on the amendment.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Alderman Baxter.
Lord Mayor, that's just what I was going to ask, just to clarify, we're voting the amendment as opposed to the motion. Thanks.
Okay, so whoever's in control of the buttons. Voting members has now started, so you hit the flashing button and select. I have to call it out anyway. Members, just another 5 seconds for anyone who yet hasn't voted. Okay, all right. Voting is now closed. Okay, members, so we had 38 members present in the voting. We had 8 members who voted yes and 30 members who voted no. So as it was a recorded vote, members, I'm going to read out those members that voted yes. Councillor Kyle Savage, Alderman Barr, Councillor Flaherty, Alderman Berry, Councillor Evans, Councillor O'Hanlon, Councillor Radcliffe, Alderman Kennedy. So we had 30 members who voted no, and they are Councillor Johnston, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Sarah Duffy, that is, Alderman Baxter, Councillor McElrath, Councillor McGowan, Councillor McClelland, Councillor O'Kane, Councillor McConville Walker, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Mulholland, Councillor O'Dowd, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Nelson, Councillor McCartan, Councillor Kevin Savage, Councillor Duffy, Paul Duffy, Councillor Hockian, Councillor Hare, Alderman Moutry, Councillor Jude Mallon, Councillor Ashley Mallon, Councillor Lavery, Councillor Wilson, Alderman Wilson, Alderman Greenfield, Alderman Tinsley, Alderman Rankin, Councillor Hockey, Councillor Moutry, and Councillor Mackle. So the amendment falls, members, and I have no more lights on, so I'm going to hand over to Councillor Hockey to wind on the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I just want to thank everybody for their kind words in the chamber this evening in broad support of this motion. I think it's been an emotional evening. I think it has the words of the motion and the experiences that people in this chamber have experienced or have had in their lives before have brought up stories to the surface that they might not have expected to share with us this evening, and it's really welcome. And I think it'll resonate with the residents across the council. As the intention of this motion was to stand up for the people that are going through these experiences and to try and make life that wee bit easier for them. So thank you again for the support. That's it. Carmichael.
Thank you, Councillor Hockey. Are we all agreed, members, on the motion? Agreed? Okay. Thank you, members. All right. Members, we're now moving into confidential business. So could I seek a proposer and a seconder to go into committee, please? And could IT let me know whenever our live feed has been switched off? Thank you, Alderman Moutry and Councillor Hare. Thank you. And if they could also let Ryan know, Chief, could you also let Ryan know that we're out of confidential? Thank you. Okay. So welcome back to the public again, and members, could I ask a proposer and a seconder to adopt the decisions that we had in committee, please? Yes, thank you, Alderman Moutry and Councillor McClelland. Thank you. So agenda item 11, I have a number of AOB. Two are very similar, so I'm going to allow two councillors to speak at the one, one after the other before you get a response back, because they are very similar. The first one is Alderman Barr. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Lord Mayor. I'll be quick as I can. It's regarding Guildford and hogweed, and suppose everywhere else that's being affected by hogweed. There's incident there in the Paseda Play Park where there's hogweed. It has been reported, but yet there's been no information come back to see whether it's been investigated. The problem with Guildford, and I'm being specific about Guildford, is that there's different landlords or landowners have responsibility for places where there is hogweed. Obviously, Sinn Féin do not care about hogweed because they wouldn't be sitting over here having the conversation, which is absolutely disgraceful. But anyway, the hogweed in Guildford, what I will say is that council owned needs to be spread. We need to get reports on that. And also we need to get reports on where else is not council owned. Is it being spread? Is it being treated? And also to add to that there, what legislation is in place so we can hold landlords or landowners to account for not treating their land because it's creating additional problems. I would like to propose, Madam Lord Mayor, that this comes to committee on a monthly basis until it's resolved or until we get to resolution down the line, or we start up another working group, but I prefer that it comes to committee in the first instance so that we can get on top of it. And if the legislation is not there where council can hold the landlords or landowners to account, then we ask those who can deliver the legislation to earn their money. Thank you.
Alderman Barr, thank you. I was going to call Councillor O'Hanlon in, but Councillor Mackle, do you want to come in? Okay.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, just to reassure Alderman Barr that the conversation I was having with my colleague was in relation to the knotweed in Guildford and whether or not Councillor Barr's sudden interest in it was a result of the local MP's media on it. That was all.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hanlon. I'm not going to get into a whole debate over all this because can I be honest with you, members? Every single one of you have don't talk across the Lord Mayor, please, Councillor Alderman Barr. Have respect. Right? First of all, everyone, whenever the deputy and I are up here, we see us all having conversations, and sometimes it is actually quite frustrating because it can be actually very loud. So it's not immune to any one particular party, but I am very aware that individuals do have these conversations because they are talked in relation to the topic that is under debate. So I will allow you out of my respect to the chamber to come back with the reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Lord Mayor. Yes, I have the right of reply. And just to confirm with the provisional Sinn Féin member to my left, that no, it's not, because I had already invested into it with council officers. So thank you.
Lord Mayor, look, my issue is a bit more in relation to grass cutting across the council area. And we have, let me be clear, we usually in here complain about road service. And in fairness, road service at the minute are out actually cutting the verges. But if you go into our town centres, the grass on council-owned land is dreadful. Housing executive are probably every bit as bad. So and I know I've raised this through Jonathan and the team in relation to the issue on council lands. And okay, well, I've been advised that it's everything from recruitment to staff sickness to people being moved from grounds maintenance to back onto bins. I know the good work that the Environmental Services Working Group has been doing, but here we are again. We're in a scenario where every year we have the grass needs cut, and I think there's a number of members of staff started in the last couple of weeks. There's now another batch to start in another couple of weeks. We really need to get a grip of this, and can we get an update as quickly as possible as to when we will be on top of the grass cutting across on the areas that council are responsible for? And secondly, can we write to the housing executive and raise our concerns about the grass cutting or the lack thereof in lands in which they are responsible for?
So Councillor O'Hanlon, that's a proposal. Is there someone could second that for Councillor O'Hanlon? Because we're in a public session, I'll call you in.
I'm happy to second that.
Right to the housing executive. We'll get the more detail of that, Councillor O'Hanlon. So, yeah. So Alderman Barr, you had a proposal. Do you have a seconder for that proposal as well, please? Councillor Evans again. Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to second that one.
Great, thank you. Okay, Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just wanted to come back in relation to Councillor O'Hanlon's proposal, and I agree with it. But currently, the grass in the One View and the Grey Estates in Lurgan is 4 foot tall, and that lies with the housing executive. And the housing executive promised endlessly for weeks now to myself and my colleague, Councillor Heron Lurgan, that it will be cut. And tonight, it's still not cut. And there's a danger now of infestation of mice. So there is, so, you know, I would endorse what Councillor O'Hanlon has said and ask that we get in contact with the housing executive ASAP to see if we can try and get them to move on some of these things. Thank you.
Councillor Mackle.
Yes, just to concur with Alderman Moutry. I mean, it's not just in his party constituency, my own party constituency. The grass is completely out of control, and it's all housing executive responsibility. And like in One View and the Grey Estate, they've been promising that they were doing it this week, last week, it's still up done. So totally agree with that.
Members will ensure there's a letter out ASAP to all the relevant housing executive departments with that. Okay. Members, item 3 is Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. If I speak briefly on something else, just want to, on the topic of the hardweed, I just want to thank all the council staff and Northern Ireland Environment Agency staff who were at the Balsam Bash last Friday for moving all that Himalayan weed from Oxford Island. So there is work going on, though that's a safer one to remove. My own was just a wee quick one on greenways. As you'll recur, I think council spent about £100,000 to scope out 4 potential greenway routes a number of years ago. There's been a couple of reports over the years, but nothing in the last maybe 2 years or so. Because I think at that time they were looking at maybe bringing 1 or 2 to planning. It's just to get an update and that be brought back to the appropriate committee, because no, maybe a lot of the new members might not be aware of it and have interest. So if it's maybe just a appropriate report brought back, then we'll see what the situation is. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Starting in relation to I suppose maybe in relation to Alderman Barr's, there is a report currently being drafted that will come to the Environmental Services Committee on the 4th of June in relation to the hogweed and addressing those issues and concerns that have been noted. Also, again, hopefully on the Environmental Services Working Group on the 30th of May, we'll pick up the aspects associated with the grass cutting and the resource and the recruitment that's ongoing in relation to staff in that regard. And then also in relation to the greenways, yes, we'll certainly endeavour to bring a report through in relation to the 3 greenways that were part of that funding application that Councillor Lavery has related to.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that. content with that, Councillor Lavery? Yes. AOB 4 is Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I'm raising a member or an item of AOB that has been raised recently, and I can't see, the officers can absolutely put me right that any of that has been actioned. So the DA members will be aware that the mountain bike trail at the lakes here is not in a proper or a good state. I understand that there will be a wee bit of cross responsibility with regards to council and also DFI, but I just want to point out some issues that members of local clubs and users of the trail have sent to me recently. So they've obviously commented on the state of disrepair, but they're also worryingly telling me that boulders have been shifted onto the paths, that visibility is almost non-existent at segments of the trails because there are fallen trees, overhanging trees, and therefore that would suggest to me that basic and routine maintenance is not being done. We're now at risk of being responsible for someone hurting themselves. So I would ask that that mountain bike trail is walked by officers in the coming days, that where we're responsible, we take action in coming days, and where we're DFI are responsible, that we as a council, as a statutory body, that we write to them and we highlight the partnership work that we would like to take forward with them. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. And again, I had raised that as well with officers just within the last week, where members of the public had raised that with myself too. So are you Jonathan, are you content to do what Councillor Nelson, or do you want to report?
Yeah, so through the relevant heads of department and officers, I'll ensure that that will be done and walked before the end of the week, given the urgency as Councillor Lancel has related to.
Content with that, Councillor Nelson? Yes, thank you. Members, the final item is from Councillor Sarah Duffy.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and hopefully I can get through this one without any interruption, as it is a sensitive issue. On behalf of the Little Forget Me Not Trust, permission is sought to hold a small event on the Palace grounds on Saturday the 8th of June to mark the new plaque in the Baby Lost Garden, which I know many of the councillors across this chamber have worked hard to secure. This event will include a thank you picnic for their members and a reflection to remember the babies and the children who are sadly no longer with us. The group are not asking for any money from council. They will provide everything that is required. Their only request is to hold the event in the Palace grounds. The group have provided a copy of the public liability insurance to council and have confirmed that the only facility they wish to use is the baby garden. They will not be selling anything or collecting money in any way. It is expected that 30 of their members will attend from the hours of 12 midday until 2 p.m. Elected reps will be invited to attend an hour before the event for photos and to meet with members of the group. It is requested the council bylaws are suspended on this occasion to allow this poignant event to go ahead. We look forward to bringing our whole community together for this meaningful celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Nelson?
Just, Lord Mayor, there is a request to suspend the bylaws. It may need seconded, so happy to second.
Okay. Councillor O'Hanlon?
Yes, Lord Mayor, absolutely no problem. I think it's something that council should be associated with, and as Councillor Duffy referred to, there were a number of councillors and former councillors who were heavily involved in securing that facility, and I know it's a very sensitive issue, and it's one that I know a lot of families will get a lot of solace out of, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not sure which officer wants to pick up on this one. Okay, members, are we all in agreement with that? Or Councillor Hare?
Can I just come on another wee issue here? Just as regards, I know this is your last council meeting for both yourself and the Deputy Lord Mayor.
Alderman Hurt, I'm sorry to cut across you, but I just want to bring this baby, if we're all content to finish are we all, Councillor Sarah Duffy, Chief Executive said he's going to pick up with you after, but I don't see any dissent amongst members. So I trust that that will all go well. Sorry about that, Councillor Hare. I just wanted to bring that to a conclusion.
Okay, thank you. It's just, this is your last, full council. And I would like to congratulate both of you on your term this year. You've went that extra mile, any group was in. You made them feel really, really welcome. And I would like to put on record my thanks for all you done first. Thank you very much.
That's very kind, Councillor Hare. Thank you very much indeed. Very much appreciated, Deputy Lord Mayor. Yeah. Yes, very much. So, members, that concludes our council meeting for tonight. And all I want to do is wish you a safe journey home and thank you for your patience tonight. Thank you.